Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Cubs on Tap. I'm Cody. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody on Tap, and I'm joined by my good friend Joe. You can follow him on Twitter at Joe Maris. How we doing, man? Cubs lose 3-2 to the Cardinals. Lose 3-4 to the Cardinals. 9 days from the trade deadline, so we're in single digits.
8 days.
8 days, whatever. I don't know how to math. I'm sorry.
No, you usually would think it's the 31st, but they changed it up this year.
Is it the 30th?
The 30th,
whatever. Yeah. Either way, we're closer to pain. I don't know. Go ahead. No, I asked you how you're doing, and then I kept talking. I feel like I do that. I listen back to the podcast all the time, and I'm like, I talk way too much, so I'm so sorry. I asked you how you're doing, so how you doing?
The card season's back on, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It sucks. I mean, 3-2. All three runs the Cardinals scored were on home runs. Alzolay gonna Alzolay. Home runs. Other than that, he was pretty good. I mean, he's exactly. I mean, besides if he can just learn to keep the ball in the yard, it's always home runs. Don't know what it is, but I mean, those are the only bugaboos on the game today, at least on the pitching side. Risnick had that nice two RBI double, but other than that, just we had three hits. That's just not going to cut it.
Yeah, it's a big old yikes. I will say spin zone though, and I'm Dope Redbeard. He knows me so well, and he says Cardinals can buy it all up, sign Bader for life. That's what I'm saying, baby. $400 million contract. He had a hell of a series for Harrison Bader. I slander him a little bit on Twitter. I've been doing it all season because I love to bring up that Sporting News article that said that he's the next Mike Trout or whatever that came out like 5 years ago or whatever. He had a great series, so that's what I'm saying. Sign him for life, you know what I mean? But in all seriousness, he's a really good defensive outfielder. I'll give him that. And I think if you get a guy that's hitting 270 and has a on base of 345 and slugs and 450, that's pretty solid for your center fielder. Cubs don't have anyone like that.
No, he's everything. He's everything you hope that Albert Almora would be.
Yeah. Someone replied to me earlier and was like, "Oh yeah, he'll be the next Cub." And I was like, honestly, I wouldn't even be mad if Harrison Bader was a Cub because at least he puts up serviceable numbers.
It would be a hump to get over, personally.
Oh yeah,
if he plays like that all the time, I wouldn't be upset about it.
That's what I'm saying. Like I said, if he puts up the numbers that he's putting up this year, I wouldn't be mad about it. But I just love to make fun of the fact that people actually thought this guy was the next Mike Trout. So, anyway,
Well, if he's the next Randall Grichuk, and Randall Grichuk's better than Chris Bryant.
Touche. Oh, man. God, the best fans of baseball, man, they just chef's kiss when it comes to just being on break.
They're only 7.5 back.
I know, they're back. I think I don't know did the Brewers play today? They should buy, man. John Mozeliak better be on the phone. He better be on the phone. He should be calling
Max Scherzer.
Yeah. They need a bat. They should call the Reds. They should call the Reds and try to get Nick Castellanos while he's on the IL, which means Yachty have to suck it up a little bit and allow him on their team, but they could use a guy like Nick Castellanos. No bat flips. Respect the game.
Yeah, respect the game.
Respect the game. It's not the Cardinal way. Not the Cardinal way, guys. You can't bat flip. Oh, and since what's his name took a ball to the head tonight, the next time the Cubs play the Cardinals, you definitely know they're going to throw one at, like, I don't know, if Chris Bryant's still on the team, they'll throw one at his head just because that's the Cardinal way. Joe, we're starting off so hot here. This is awesome. This is actually making this loss a little bit better.
I agree. I mean, there's, we had, we're playing the Diamondbacks to start the second half, and you're like, okay, it's the Diamondbacks, regardless of whatever the season was. That doesn't really move the needle. But
I wasn't on Cubs Twitter during the Diamondback series due to being on the road for work. But
if people are in AAA Iowa,
yeah. Well, Well, I don't know what people were saying, but if people thought the Cubs were going to buy because they took 2 or 3 from the Diamondbacks, even
Like
I'm
I
not
said,
that delusional.
like I said, I tweeted after the comeback win in Arizona, and I was like, "Are the Cubs buyers now?" With like 8 question marks, thinking everybody would pick up on the sarcasm.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes people
not.
just don't get it. Sometimes people don't get it, man. It's cool. Let's go through some comments before we kind of break down the game. You kind of did. The Cardinals scored 3 runs because of Dylan Carlson, who, I won't lie, I had $1 left in my gambling account tonight, and I put it on Dylan Carlson plus 600 to hit a homer. So now I have like $7 in my account or something like that. Yeah, so I'm back.
Find that in a math textbook.
Yeah,
Cody
right.
has $1 left in his FanDuel account.
And then Nolan Arenado. I honestly thought Abbott was going to be okay tonight because there are essentially only 2 lefties because there's 2 switch hitters and then just full of righties. And we've talked about it all year. He has just really struggled against lefties, as in Alzolay gives up the leadoff homer to Carlson in the bottom of the first. And then Arenado, I mean, he hits homers off anyone, man. Like, as much as I think Chris Bryant's better than him, he's right up there as one of the top third basemen in the league.
I would say he is the top third baseman in the league, but
I mean, if he isn't, it's really fucking close.
Yeah.
Chris Bryant is he's more versatile, can play all over the field, but Nolan Arenado did a lot in the game last night that kind of saved the Cardinals.
Plays, man.
Yeah, he made some plays. But yeah, that's how the Cardinals scored, and then Jake Marisnick took a ball into the gap opposite field, to give the Cubs 2 runs, I think, in the 5th inning, and that's all she wrote. The Cubs bullpen was actually okay tonight, even though they used a bunch of arms that I had absolutely no faith in, and the Cardinals bullpen did
pretty nice.
Yeah. In the 9th inning, he was okay. He's a guy that I'm gonna look at as once August hits, because they're gonna want to find out if he's someone they want to keep around. But man, that inning where Dylan Maples and Dan Winkler came in, I could not believe they got through that inning without giving up runs, brother. I don't know how they did it, but you get that, but then you can't score off the shitty Cardinals bullpen. So baseball gods just kind of was like, let's get wacky tonight, I guess. But it is what it is. Let's see. R. Caldy 1908. He was in the stream a lot last night. I was watching. He kept popping
always
up.
In the stream. We appreciate
He's always
it.
In the stream. Yeah, we appreciate it, man. He tweets at me all the time. I don't think he hates Rizzo, but he always asks me, like, when are we gonna question Anthony Rizzo? And I think he finally got that answer last night because a lot of people were against him or pissed off at him. But he says this vaunted lineup that wants millions that we can't afford got dominated by Waffle House cooks.
To be fair, Ryan Helsey's throwing 100. To be fair.
Yeah. I think he's just talking about the core players that everyone keeps talking about.
I agree.
And I kind of had a tweet earlier, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Joe. I talked about in my first, it was like a thread. I tweeted and I was like, it's a goddamn shame that this Cubs season's going like this, that the last dance for these core guys who are part of the last great American sports story, it's going to end like this. And I blamed it all on the Ricketts family because after 2018, they stopped spending, they stopped doing anything to make an impact on the roster to supplement the problems that they had. For the last 3 years, we have seen the exact same shit. Inconsistency in the offense, pitching being overworked and dying out as the season goes along, like we've seen this year. A lot of the same shit. And starting pitching, honestly, this is the first year where the starting pitching has actually just been the biggest reason that they suck.
I completely agree.
But anyway, I said that. I said, it's gotten so bad that now the fan base, in other words, Cubs Twitter is now turning on the core players because guys like Javi want $200 million. Rizzo thinks it's a low ball deal to get 5 years, $70 million. KB, we don't even really know what KB wants, and people are bashing them because we're not winning baseball games and everything. And at the end of the day, in my personal opinion, it just comes back to the front office or ownership, whoever you want to put the blame on, for not fixing the holes. They tried to put a Band-Aid on it the last 3 years, bringing in guys who some of them have worked out. You know, Patrick Wisdom's been a nice story. You know, in previous years, Nick Castellanos turned into something special that we should have kept around in 2019. You know, Cole Hamels was a fun story. 2020, who knows? It is what that team just got in because the division sucked, whatever. But they basically band-aided the team with guys who were, buy low or low risk, high reward type players, but they didn't go out and just get a steady, just get someone who you're going to put in the lineup every single day that you knew was going to be productive. They didn't do anything like that. They didn't fix the bullpen when they really needed to fix the bullpen until this year, ironically,
Just a quick note on the bullpen. Besides Kimbrel, I mean, these are all guys that the Cubs have worked with,
True.
They're not paying these guys any significant money. Mm-hmm. They got them and they worked with them. So that's something that can continue to work. And you've seen it work around the league with bullpen guys you've never heard of putting together a shape season.
Right.
So that's repeatable. So the Cubs, if they can continue to develop their, work with them in the pitching lab and stuff like that, in the bullpen, like then it continues to work. And then who says it can't work in the starting rotation too,
Mm-hmm.
So
right. Well, anyway, like I was kind of saying, it all, like, to me, it just all stems back to just ownership not letting the front office fix what they fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I feel like we're here. That, I'm not blaming it all on ownership, but they get like a large majority of it, in my personal opinion, because, how could Theo Epstein say the offense is broke after the 2018 season, but then do absolutely nothing? They signed Daniel Descalso, and it's been very similar stuff like that since then. So to go back to what our Caldy is saying, this vaunted lineup that wants millions that we can't afford, it's like they're doing everything that they can to keep the team afloat. Mm-hmm. But they also haven't been given the resources from the front office, front ownership, to be as successful, because that's just how baseball works, man. Like, unless you're like fucking Mike Trout, like if you're an all-time great, you know what I mean? Like, you can carry a lineup for a little bit. I mean, even Mike Trout, he hasn't made the playoffs in God knows how long. He's a great player, but he can't carry a team. Well, all of that has to do with the Angels not having pitching. But that's the point. It's like the Cubs just haven't been able to build around those core players, and now it's gotten to the point where they have all these distractions with contract extensions and all that bullshit on top of trying to carry the team themselves. And it's, at the end of the day, it's just an overload, man. It just is what it is. They, some of the guys worked out for a little bit, Matt Duffy, who knows if he doesn't get hurt, who knows where the team is. Maybe it's a little different, but like, I can't say that Matt Duffy being healthy was going to make any difference for his team, because at the end of the day, like we've talked about, the starting pitching is the biggest problem with this team. Mm-hmm. But then you get starting pitching tonight, but we don't get the offense. Like that's
same
just
thing with Hendricks last night.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, there's a lot of things. I understand that this core it's just not meshing well anymore. I understand it. But at the same time, it's hard for me to really just full on blame them for the way that this season has gone and how this is going to end. And it, like I said, it's a goddamn shame, because I just always thought after 16 and how that story was, and what the Cubs franchise was like, I just always thought that this was going to end differently. And it just pains me that it's not. Like, I have waved the white flag. Let's just like fucking trade Chris Bryant so everyone can be happy about it, that we're going to get prospects back. Mm-hmm. And then when he goes off and he plays really well for whatever team in the second half, without all these distractions on his back and without all the BS that this front office has given him, and then he signs a giant contract extension with whoever, and he plays like an MVP player for the next 5 to 6 years, I'll be here to tell all of you that you were wrong. I will be.
Today, I don't know how if you listened or the people listening listen to the Chris Bryant interview on Redline Radio today, and you could see Carl at the end of it's like, KB, we love you in Chicago, man. It definitely does not seem like it, but man, the city of Chicago loves you, and I appreciate you, and I want to see you play in a Cubs uniform for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
but it just doesn't feel like that's the consensus for some reason. I saw a tweet today. It's like Brennan Davis is the best prospect the Cubs have had since Chris Bryant. But that doesn't give me much faith considering how the treatment of Chris Bryant's been for the last 3 years. And right. Part of me that puts something in the back of my head,
Yeah. I listened to that same interview as well. And you just listen to Chris Bryant talk, man. And he just I don't know how much this shit is sitting in his head. I genuinely don't. I know in 2018, 2019, it bothered him because he was very open about it, how it bothered him in recent in past interviews. But at the same time, he has done everything this franchise has asked him to do. And, I know they're sitting him out this week mainly for trade reasons. They don't want him to get hurt. And I don't blame them. I just wish there could be another way, man. I just wish there really could. It just makes me sad. So
can you bring up that baseball Booch's comment?
Yeah. He's all over these comments. You want the recent one here?
Recent one, yeah.
Joe, on that Davis comment, I think Jed learned from Theo's mistakes with Chris Bryant.
Yeah, and God, I hope so. Because Jed is here for the long term.
Yeah.
It always seemed like Theo's goal was to leave after 10 years, was it?
Yeah.
And he left after 9 or 8.
Right.
Whatever it was.
9. It was 9.
So Jed is here. Jed's staying, and he's shown the ability, he was a part of everything Theo did. It's not like he doesn't deserve any credit. So you definitely hope that he learned from those mistakes, like you said. So that we definitely cannot continue to treat guys like that. And it's not even from the Cubs specifically. It's a fan base thing as well.
Yeah.
You have baseball is such an up and down sport. You can't just turn on your team and on the players of that team when they have a little rough stretch. It's such an up and down sport. You need that's why consistency is the greatest thing you can have in baseball. And if you're not getting it from a fan base or an ownership, why is the player going to go out there and be consistent? Not to say he can't, but you can see how it affects them.
Baseball Booge had another comment earlier. He said, after Hayward, Ricketts probably didn't trust Theo to evaluate long-term value of money and players. That's understandable to an extent, but we're talking about one of the greatest executives in baseball history, man. And yeah, the Hayward contract sucks, but I don't think Theo even wanted to go out and spend $1 billion or whatever on the top free agent guy that offseason after 2018. They had already signed Darvish, and Darvish was hurt in 2018. I didn't even want the Cubs to go and be top players with the top free agent players on the market. I just wanted some guys that were a little bit different. I wanted some bullpen guys. We were in 2018. That team won 95 games, won without Darvish from literally the entire season, basically. And Chris Bryant was hurt for the entire season almost. I don't even know if he got 100 games in that season because of the shoulder injury, which he came back from and changed his swing so he could play for the city, for the franchise. Something that everyone thinks he's soft. Everyone who says he's soft, it pisses me off because I always love to bring that up. But
in the interview, the Barstool interview today, he said one of the games where they're tracking how much movement he has in a certain game, and he's like, they told him he broke the record that of the Cubs record for movement in a game, and he's like, well, no wonder I was so sore when I woke up the next day. I don't know how much people understand. You wake up sore, deathly sore, and he's at the field at 3:00 getting ready for a 7:00 game. This is and that shit just compounds over and over again. They're not at 100% for every single game.
Right.
That's why those guys who took steroids, those numbers are incredible because they're feeling 100% every game.
Right. Yeah. I know we've been talking a lot about the past in terms of like 2018 and how we've got here and all this shit. And thank you for everyone in the comments and everything. Also, Greg A1123 said they played 40 games in 41 days to end the season. That's another good point that people forget as well. Mm-hmm. But you know, I'm not trying to like look back on the past and go, what if, or if we did this or that. I'm just stating the fact that if ownership would have let the front office fix their fuck ups, I think the Cubs would be in a completely different spot right now. That, and if the pandemic didn't happen. If the pandemic doesn't happen, you go into 2020, Chris Bryant still has a year left on, like 2 years left of control. And perhaps if he has another good season like he did in 2019, maybe the Cubs finally pay him. Maybe if Anthony Rizzo...
or they would have traded him at that point.
Or they would have traded him, yes. And you could say the same things about Anthony Rizzo and Javi Baez. The pandemic not only hurt the Ricketts' pockets in terms of losing money from all the businesses and not having fans in the stands, it also hurt the roster because it did not allow players to perform to prove that they deserve to be here long term, or either that or just in terms of money. You know, we're thinking a lot different about Javi Baez. If there was a regular 2020 season and he has a similar 2019 and he's just having a bad 2021, and he's like, I wouldn't say he's definitely not having a horrific 2021. He still has almost 20 homers. He has 21 homers and like 60 RBIs, which is really good. That's really good.
I saw since the combined no hitter, he's hitting over 300. I mean, and that's no small sample. That was over a month ago, right?
Yeah, it's late June. So
that's no small sample.
It's just, the strikeouts are still there. He's still striking out over 35% of the time.
You got like put context on it. You look at Patrick Wisdom, he's striking out 40% of the time, but yet everybody's willing to. Patrick Wisdom's a part of the core now.
I don't think people think Patrick Wisdom's part of the core. I don't even think Patrick Wisdom's part of the core.
And he's not. But like, people are like, oh, Wisdom's our guy. You're like, he's striking out like over 40% over the last 3 weeks.
But also, Patrick Wisdom isn't going to ask for the kind of money that Javi Baez is asking.
I know it's a different situation, but you just see how
I see what you're saying.
This idea of somebody, like people still have that idea of Patrick Wisdom from that nice 7 home run stretch or whatever it was, and he totally could be that guy. He still leads rookies in home runs with a lot less games.
Right.
But recently,
he struck out like every time tonight.
He's striking out like 3 times a game every time he starts,
He struck out twice tonight. He had a run scored tonight, and he did have a walk. He's batting .262, has an OPS over 900. He actually leads the Cubs in OPS right now.
Right.
But obviously not nearly as many at bats as like all the other guys, but still. Yeah.
Like you're just treating guys like on a different scale, which I understand. But you gotta look at everything in a fair lens.
Right. Dope Redbeard says, I think Javi can be that guy, but for $200 million, man, I don't know. And I'm with him.
That's more of a problem with the market than it is with Javi.
Right.
Okay. His job.
It was a stupid rumor. It was a stupid rumor that his agent let get out. Like his agent basically like found a way to just like kind of throw that out there to let the public play with it for a little bit and see what people thought. Get? Like 300 and some million, man.
And he's not Lindor. I get that. But like Lindor's also not tearing the cover off the ball even before.
Yeah.
There's just a different idea of Lindor out there that you can depend on.
Right. Well, and I think with Javi, you're going to get plus defense. How about
that play he made today up the middle that Edmund was safe on?
Yeah, where he almost If that would have been Yachty, he would have been.
Yachty would have been out by 6 steps. Yeah,
yeah. With Javi, it's just kind of like I would feel comfortable with somewhere between 100 and 150 million over 6 years. I would feel comfortable with that, and I feel like that's about 21 million dollars annually. I would feel comfortable with that if they can't find a way to keep the other two. And I just don't see them not finding a way to keep Rizzo. And I know people
Rizzo and Contreras are the two that will get locked up, at least for sure. But we'll see.
Someone tweeted at me tonight asking me like what, and he was a Sox fan too. He tweeted at me, he's like, who do I want for Wilson Contreras? And I'm like, first off, the White Sox don't even need Wilson Contreras. I know Grandal's on the IL, but like he's gonna come back, and then you're gonna have 2 elite catchers on your team.
Or the people saying they should get Kimbrel, and you're like, but what do you do if you have 2 closers you're paying $20 million each?
I think it's different with freaking relief pitchers, but yeah, it's essentially the same thing. They do have the DH, so I guess they could always, go a couple days a week. Maybe Lucas Giolito would pitch better with Contreras behind the dish instead of Grandal, because I know that's a thing. I don't know. All I was just kind of like, I don't even know. I honestly, if the Cubs were to trade Contreras to the White Sox, I would want Andrew Vaughn back and like Stever. He's like one of their top pitching prospects. That's who I would want Andrew Vaughn and Stever. That ain't gonna happen though. The White Sox wouldn't do that.
No. And they shouldn't. But I saw something going around through Sox Twitter. Would you trade Andrew Vaughn for, I don't know what specific player? I think it was a Cubs player, and for a guaranteed World Series in 2021? And it's like 70% no. And you look at all the replies, like, well, yeah, you'd get the 1, but you could be getting 3 or 4. It's like, how do you think baseball works?
See,
that's an anomaly. That's how the Cubs were thinking. That's how we were all thinking.
That is how we all thought in like 2016 when people are like, we shouldn't trade Gleyber Torres for Aroldis Chapman or any kind of elite closer.
That trade looks better with every at bat Gleyber Torres takes, but he
has gotten better of recent. But I mean, Gleyber Torres, he's been a really good player for the Yankees.
Right,
There's no doubt about that. But at the time of the trade, everyone thought Addison Russell was going to be, the shortstop for the next 5-6 years. And that's why and that is why I have maintained that Addison Russell becoming not only a piece of shit, but just also declining as a player is the number one reason why the Cubs are where they're at right now. Because if Addison Russell becomes the next Barry Larkin, like all the scouts said, we might be in a complete different situation. We might have already traded Javi because we already have a shortstop that we might have locked up. I don't know. There's a lot of different things to that. But Addison Russell decided to be a piece of shit and also suck at baseball after 2016. So, I mean, again, it's hindsight is 2020. I think today one of the problems with baseball fans today is like we just like value prospects. And again, valuing prospects is a big thing these days because the draft is so much more important than say 10 years ago. Right. And you're not going to see these big deadline trades except for like a guy like a reliever like a Craig Kimbrel or even Schaefer or Tepera, I would guess as well. But you're just not going to get a big deadline trade for a guy like Chris Bryant who's a rental. Perhaps if he had one more year of control left,
you're not getting pro guys. That's it. Like with all these trades, you're getting obviously more and more with the internet. These prospects, but you don't know how the Cubs value these prospects. You don't know if you can trust other teams' evaluations. Right. Like speaking of prospects, I think we can kind of switch to a positive here. Okay, I got something in the drafts that hopefully will go out tomorrow. From the Nelson Cruz trade. I mean, he got traded to the Rays, and the Twins got a number 10 and a 17 prospect back for 2 months of Nelson Cruz,
who's like a billion years old.
Right. I mean, that's irrelevant because he's still producing.
He still matches baseball. Yeah.
But that's a good sign.
For Chris Bryant. Essentially, yeah.
For that same 2-month rental, depending on their thoughts of
and the Rays the Rays have a good farm system too. So that's you think about for Kimbrel, like that, Kimbrel has another club option after this year. So that's potentially 2 years of control. Like you can go out and get a top 10 prospect for Kimbrel. You're not getting, Gleyber Torres for Aroldis Chapman. That's not the market, but you're going to get a good prospect. Yeah.
And possibly maybe, a 20 throw-in or something. Who knows?
Right. We got some more comments here. Need KB to pull a Chapman and come back in the off season. I mean, yeah, like that's kind of where that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm not going to argue trading him or not trading him. I just want the Cubs to somehow keep him, whether if they trade him and then get him to come back or freaking extend him now. Like,
I'm just ready for a decision to be made, you know.
Right,
I'm just
man.
ready
like,
to see what
this front office has
so we can move on.
This front office has to know, where are the fan bases right now, man.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is go on Twitter. And I know Twitter is only 10% of the fan base, but everyone is talking about this shit. Everyone's talking about this shit. And it's just so frustrating that the Cubs put themselves in this position with a guy like Chris Bryant, a guy who's a role model, a guy who has done everything right within the organization, says all the right things, family man, all that shit. And he produces.
Mm-hmm.
He produces. I'm sorry if it offends, but he does actually produce. If you look at the advanced statistics, sorry he doesn't hit 40 home runs a year. Sorry he's not getting 100 RBIs a year.
You know, I think the thing is that people don't understand is that hitting 320 in the MLB, it just doesn't happen anymore. And the
it's
guys
really
that do
fucking hard, man.
The guys that do it, they're different kinds of hitters. You know, you're not. Besides, Vlad Guerrero's going to go for the Triple Crown this year, but that's those guys that are doing that are historical seasons. You know, you're not having the batting crown guy hitting 350 anymore. I mean, 280 is a good hitter.
Right. We were just talking about Gleyber Torres. Remember, everyone thought that it was such a bad move for the Cubs to, even though they won the World Series with Chapman, people were watching Gleyber Torres be so good the last 3 years. And now we're talking about how it looks okay now because Gleyber Torres is having a bad season. It's like, you got to pick a side, brother. And I'm always going to choose the side that you trade, that it was a good move that you trade for Chapman because he got you a World Series. That's just what it is.
I'll do whatever it takes to win one World Series.
For sure.
I don't think people realize how hard it is.
Exactly. And that's why if I'm a Sox fan and if you really want Chris Bryant, I don't think the Cubs would trade Chris Bryant to the White Sox unless they really, really got what they wanted. Just because of the Quintana trade and how it worked out, and because of, they know that if Chris Bryant goes to the South Side and they win the World Series with him, there's just going to be a lot of bad feelings with all of the fan base and all of that shit. The Cubs would have to get a huge haul for them to give the White Sox Chris Bryant. Throw the market and all that out of the way. I don't think the Cubs would do it unless Andrew Vaughn is involved. Throw in a top, not the biggest pitching prospect, but top 15 in the system, and throw in another random guy in there. I think you can get it done, but I don't think the White Sox would do it. So
no,
it is what it is. We've talked about the market and the trade and the trade market and everything. And it's just a lot different. So, it is what it is, man. I do like to see this kind of shifting. Our Calder, he says, I'll say this. The Darvish trade looks a lot better than some said. Owen Casey looks legit. I haven't paid attention to a lot of his numbers, but I mean, if you're going to say that in the stream, I'm just going to believe you, brother.
They're 18.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a little bit, but yeah, they're looking good, man.
I know that they had a lot of
right now.
They had them high in the Fangraphs had them high in their top 50 Cubs prospect list. And that comment alone says what I've kind of been saying on how, next year, if the Cubs, make the right moves with the trades of whatever they do and, signs actually participate in the offseason, this team could be competitive next year. And then you can also bring up some guys along the way and, build I don't think the Cubs will be World Series contenders next year, but they can be division contenders with the way that this division's set up. None of those, Milwaukee's going to be good for a while, no doubt, but they're not going to run away with the division every year just because they're a small market, But
when you think about the things that they Keston here for them has dropped off a cliff.
Yeah.
Yelich is a great player, but he's not having the greatest season. It all depends on their pitching, but their offense is not necessarily trending in the upwards direction.
No, yeah, their pitching literally carries them.
Yeah.
So,
and good on them for having those three pitchers. That's incredible. But
for sure, eventually the Cubs will have that. They will, and I keep preaching it when we do these post games this entire month of July, man. As soon as August 1st hits, I don't know if the wins are going to come, but we're all going to just I feel like we're all going to feel like we lost 50 pounds and we can just look forward to watching whoever they call up from Iowa and seeing what we got. Like, find out what the future is. I understand it's uncharted territory. We haven't been in it since 2014. But, like, we got to do what you got to do, man. It sucks that we're in this position. I already talked about, like, why we shouldn't be in this position and why it's stupid that we're in this position. But we're here. So we just got to get to July 30th and fucking, you know, hope and pray that whatever Jed does is the right moves. And, you know, look forward to August 1st and whoever they call up, we'll, you know, see what happens.
Cubs officially signed second rounder James Triantos. I don't know how to say his last name, but they officially signed him 2.1, which was almost $1 million over slot value.
Nice.
So good for him.
Yeah. Greg A1123 says Casey is slashing 375, 574 on base and has an OPS of 1.199 that as of July 20th. That's well, he's in rookie ball, right? He should be mashing fucking there with as high of a prospect he is.
For sure.
It's a good sign. Yeah.
He'll probably get moved to full season at some point.
Yeah. He'll probably, I'm assuming he might be in Myrtle Beach next year. You know,
there's so much to look forward to, guys. There's so much. You got to everybody's seeking out the negative, which we all do.
Right.
It's easiest because it's what's on our TV. But man, is there some good stuff out there right now.
Yeah, I agree, man. I completely agree. We did kind of talk about the game. I just talked about how runs were scored.
When the Cubs lose like this, man, there's nothing to talk about.
Really. I mean, we lose 3 or 4 to the fucking Cardinals. Again, I hope John Mozeliak is on the goddamn phone calling up fucking, I don't fucking know who. Call up fucking who's a team that really sucks? Call up the Diamondbacks and trade for David Peralta. He sounds like a future Cardinals legend. David Peralta, and sell the farm for David Peralta. Put him in a corner outfield spot and let's fucking ride. Do it. I dare you. I dare you, John. I dare you. Because you guys are buyers. Oh my God. Fuck St. Louis. I'm going to tweet out eventually the updated stats on Yadier Molina since he blocked me on Instagram. I know he had the game-winning hit yesterday, which, by the way, I wasn't on the postgame show last night, but I'm pretty sure Jason Hayward would have caught that ball if he was out in right field when that play happened. Again, it is what it is.
It was more about positioning at that point because you're defending against a single.
For sure.
So you can get the runner out at home, but yeah.
For sure, yes. All right. Let's talk about tomorrow's game, I guess. At Wrigley Field, Friday, 1:20. It's always a vibe.
Playing the Diamondbacks, folks. Get excited.
Playing the Diamondbacks. We should get a W tomorrow. Bet the Cubs money line. They're going to be favorites. They're not going to be favorites very much longer. Yeah, bet responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER. Zach Gallen against Zach Davies. Joe, would you say that this is a tryout for Zach Davies for a potential team?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, that's another expiring contract that a team can literally sweep up for a bag of balls, you know?
For sure, yeah. Like, you know, Zach Davies has been solid since May 1st, right?
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
He's definitely come back to, you know, kind of what the Cubs expected. Obviously, can't anticipate.
I think if you put Zach Davies, I feel like Zach Davies
he needs to get away from Kyle Hendricks.
Right. I feel like if the Padres wanted an extra arm, like I know they're really solid on the.
I wonder what he would look like in a Padres uniform. Do we have that?
Like, are you?
Yeah.
I couldn't read your tone there for a second. I'm sorry.
Same thing with Kimbrel, huh?
Yeah. Well, he was solid. He was solid with the Padres last year in the 12 starts that he had, and it's a bigger ballpark, and you know he obviously pitches the contact. I don't know how good the Padres defense is, but I mean he was solid with them last year. I feel like he could be a nice 4 or 5 starter just for depth or something. Again, I don't know the Padres starting rotation issues right now. I know obviously, yeah, like I just feel like, you know, maybe they're a team that could use him. Also, Milwaukee, I just don't know if the Brewers are going to be willing to trade with the Cubs.
Now, what does Zach Davies look like in a Brewers uniform?
You know, the greatest pitcher of all time from my memory.
Him and Chase Anderson just change ups.
Brad Anderson, yeah, Chase Anderson
Chase
too.
Anderson.
Fuck, yeah, Brewers legends. Jesus fucking Christ. But yeah, I mean, Zach Davies, go out and there'll be scouts at Wrigley Field tomorrow behind home plate in the 1914 club, not drinking beers because they're going to be scouting the game, so they probably shouldn't.
Pen
be
in one
drinking
hand,
beers.
notepad in the other.
yeah, there you go. But either again, you gotta go. The Diamondbacks are throwing Zach Gallen, who he was a part of some significant trade in the last couple of years.
I'm pretty sure he was on the Dansby Swanson trade. Was he? No,
that was Shelby Miller.
Right. You're right though. You were right.
He was part of some significant trade. He's got a 3.86 ERA, 56 strikeouts. He's 1-4 in the season. I don't really know too much about him, but I do think the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are high on this guy, so I don't expect the Cubs to just blow them out tomorrow. But
they faced them last week.
Did they? Again, I missed most of the Diamondback series last week due to work.
I'm pretty sure they beat him in the first game. I think he started the first game. Let's see.
I got you. Well, anyway,
Oh no, that was Bumgarner. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. Give me a fly to W player, brother, because I don't really know what to say about this game except for it's a tryout for Zach Davies and it's Friday, 1:20 at Wrigley Field. If you're in the city, go to them.
They just faced him July 17th, and nobody really had a good day off of him because he went 5 1/3, I think, 2 runs. No, he went 1 run.
It doesn't even matter who the fucking Cubs are facing.
Oh, you're totally right. I'm going Rizzo, dude. Rizzo's had a terrible stretch, and you could see him hustling out a couple balls today to no avail.
He almost hit one out tonight too.
So I think he's just going to destroy one.
This is, I guess, back towards today's game, but did you think he should have should have been in the lineup today? There were people pissed off that he was in the lineup today.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. He should have totally been in the lineup.
Okay. Some people are upset. So
it was a mistake for sure. Go check out my article on tasksportsnet.com.
Oh, nice plug.
Yeah. It was a mistake, man. And nobody knows it more than him. Maybe he's been mailing it in a little bit. And I'm sure he had a good hard look at himself in the mirror.
I've had conversations with Cubs Twitter saying that Anthony Rizzo is just giving up on the team, and that
hell no,
and that
he just go rewatch that video. Go rewatch that video from Tuesday night when he scored on the Ian Happ double. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
maybe you need to look at yourself in the mirror if you're thinking Rizzo's giving up.
I agree, man. See, and I know there's bias with this because obviously I have we all say this, been a big part of the organization.
He's our Mr. Cub.
He's literally this modern day Mr. Cub, whatever. I just don't think he's a guy who quits on a team though because of contract bullshit with the front office. He's just not that guy. I'm never gonna believe that. I thought he deserved a day off just because he just had a really bad game. I mean, he left 8 guys on base 2 nights ago. I
think it would have been a little different if the Cubs had won that game.
It's just
because then they wouldn't have been going for a series split.
Yeah,
I think that was the most important thing
for sure. I don't know because a lot of people will point out, well, David Ross will sit Javi if he does Javi things. That
was a much different mistake.
I mean, that was a really bad base running error, man.
Oh,
Javi's done that plenty of times.
It was. I'm not here to downplay it. It was a crucial mistake in a crucial time. But he I don't. It's hard to explain. There is no right answer. That's my opinion.
Yeah, right. And you're entitled to have your opinion. I just I don't know. Sometimes I can agree with some people that are Rizzo gets the special treatment, doesn't get anything said bad about him. I don't know. I disagree with that. There's plenty of people I see on Twitter who slander Anthony Rizzo, and I think they're fucking stupid. But, I didn't think he should have been punished for tonight. I just didn't think he should have played tonight just because he had a bad game. give him a night off, reset, come back to Wrigley on Friday, whatever. I mean, what does it fucking matter? I don't think they're going to trade Rizzo or Bios because their freaking value is so low right now.
Oh.
But
you could probably get something good for Rizzo, I bet. But
if someone really needed a first baseman, like the Boston Red Sox, yeah, I mean, sure. I don't know. But
yeah, Rizzo's my fellow W pick, though.
All right. Well, Arcaldi 1908 says, I love Rizzo. He would never quit. I just question, can you pay a guy for past over future? And I think that's the big thing. I think you can overpay a little bit if the years are short. Like if you want the money, you're just gonna have to take a shorter term in terms of years. I will pay Anthony Rizzo somewhere between $18 to $22 million a year over 3 years. That's what I would do. That's just me. So
he's my number one on the list you have to keep because he builds that culture for the next group, whether he's part of it or not.
For sure. Dope Redbeard says, Heyman said most people think Cubs are keeping Baez and Rizzo, but I don't think anyone knows. Yeah, I don't think anyone really knows generally either. And also, John Heyman's a fucking cuck, by the way. So
yeah, if you even move your hands at the swing, he says. I think you saw Buster Only tweeted out today that the Cubs are not giving teams, a clear answer on what they're looking for in return for most likely Chris Bryant and Craig Kimbrell. So literally anything can happen, and I think they're playing, their hand close to the vest, which is really great if more trades like the Nelson Cruz one can happen because the seller's market is going up and up. So that can only help us if that continues, but who knows? I mean, you're not going to have another name like Nelson Cruz get traded most likely.
Yeah. I mean, the Nelson Cruz trade does kind of point back to Chris Bryant and kind of sets the market for a guy like him. So we'll see, man. All right. Before we get out of here, I guess my Fly W player. Friday, 1:20, sun shining. Let's fucking ride with Chris Bryant tomorrow if it's not Andrew Chafin, man. This guy, it potentially could be his last weekend at Wrigley Field with the Cubs. I don't know. I have nothing else to say. I think he's going to start tomorrow. And
yeah, he should.
I think he is going to mash against this Diamondbacks team because he knows he didn't do so well against them coming out of the break. So if you're part of the Chris Bryant Sucks crowd, watch out. I'll be calling you out, you sons of bitches. I say that nicely, but also not nicely at the same time. A little bit of, yeah. Dope Redbeard says, good weekend to have KB as a player every day. Enjoy the rest of your evening. God bless you, Dope Redbeard. God bless you, man. Before we get out of here, let's do the old Ron Luce, Pat Sajak that I try to replicate, but never can. This is Cubs on Tap, the official Cubs podcast of OnTapSportsNet.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody on Tap, and you can follow Joe at Joe Maris. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Cubbies on Tap and on Instagram at Cubbies on Tap, which has been very inactive because I've been very, very busy and unable to even manage my own Instagram account lately. So, yeah, go follow it because we're going to be boosting the content up there as soon as I get settled in my new apartment. Anything else, Joe? I got nothing else except for fuck St. Louis and thanks for all the pain. We'll be back. We're going to be riding no matter what. And I don't know. Again, as I say all the time, at least during this month, just enjoy what we got left. I know it's been hard. I know these guys aren't playing up to their potential, but I don't know.
Thank you, everybody in the comments. Definitely help steer that conversation for us.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone in the comments. You guys were great tonight.
Arcaldi, Dope Redbeard, Greg A.
The real ones.
As always.
Yep. The real ones. When we make it big, we'll never forget you guys. All right.
We're already there.
To the moon, right?
Yeah.
On tap to the moon. All right. Let's get out of here the way we know how, man.
Let's go Cubs.
Let's go Cubs. And fuck St. Louis. I don't care if they did take 3 or 4. Fuck them.